This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, one sipping on eggnog and the others playing with his dreidel, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today, ironically, in the kitchen studios, we have somebody to tell us about the kitchen space. And that somebody is Will Pettis.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks
It's
for having
been, we did sign a 3-year non-compete with you, so you couldn't be on the show. Oh, wait, no, we didn't do that. Right out the gate, right off the rip.
Right off the gate.
The last time that you were on the show, we were talking about the Kitchen Archive, which was a multi-unit commissary kitchen just here in the south end of downtown Raleigh.
Correct.
And that's where various food truck operators and, just somebody like home cooks or so, whatever, could make their food, cook and prep and do all of that stuff because you need to be commercially licensed to do so. You sold that business, and then from Instagram, I just saw you traveled all over the world.
Yeah, so I sold it and took 3 years off.
Yeah.
Traveled the world a little bit, and my non-compete ended, so we're back. Building's a little different. It's not kind of food truck centric like the other is, so it's not really a direct competition with him.
Right. And let's just frame it too. So now you have opened up your new space called the Kitchen Space.
Correct.
It is only like 3 blocks down from the other place.
It is not far down the street. Correct. But yes, we 40 different size prep kitchens, ranging from 60 square feet to 500. And
yeah. Matt, I went down last week to see the space, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, you see it from the outside; it just looks like a small little industrial building, 1 floor from the outside, and then you walk in. And Will had sent me a video of like all of the little spaces, like on a quick time lapse, like zipping through and all. I'll like put it up right here, and you can tell like how massive the place is. But he had designed it that way with all these little stalls. So it's almost like, this room, which is not very big, but it's probably like 10 by 10, would be like a medium-sized room in your space, right? Like,
correct, yeah.
Yeah. And so there are some that are like small, like tiny little closets, so to speak, but they're just big enough to give you like a prep table and a refrigerator. And I think maybe there's a sink in every single one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you got to do that for the old health code,
That's right.
health department. But pretty cool. Like you can prep and do all of your things in one space, but then he has communal cook spaces with kitchens, with ovens and ranges, and then like a dish pit and like the scullery and all that, right? So it's organized pretty well. You have an upstairs, and then you have like this secret downstairs spot that's the same size of the building that has another like 20 units down there. So yeah, it's got enough space for quite a few companies to come in and start making some food. So pretty cool.
We're just under 20,000 square feet. It's massive, but it's hopefully organized well enough that everyone will enjoy it.
And Will, you did the design yourself?
Yes, sir.
And so now memory's starting to come back of 3 years ago, probably 4 years ago when you were on.
Yeah, 4.5. Yep.
Yeah, and so you had a food truck back in the day, right?
Yeah. So I started with my first food truck in 2009, and ran the 2 burger trucks for almost 9 years.
Right.
Then I got into the commissary business.
And so just from like experience, you knew how to design kitchens and what you wanted for commissary?
Basically going off of what I felt was necessary for myself and other food trucks. And it evolved from the very small Boston Market on the south end of Durham to the big one in Durham that was 7,000 feet, and then the Kitchen Archive here in Raleigh that was 15,000. So we just growing and hopefully solving issues as we go.
And so now you've taken a turn. You said this is not for food truck. I mean, not that it couldn't be, but so who are you trying to attract now?
So, I mean, I guess technically we could be for a food truck. We don't have any parking, and we don't have a place for them to dump their gray water, which are the number 2 things that the health department wants for a food truck.
Yeah.
So we're
gray
more
water.
Yeah, right. The gray water.
A term no one has used unless they talk to
Somebody from the health
department, right?
Gray water. Come on.
So we're more focused on the Grubhub, the Uber Eats, people who want to do ghost kitchens, what they call them. People who want to have an idea of maybe I want to start a food truck, but I can't afford to go spend $500,000 to get a building open. They can come here, give it a shot, see if it works, see if it's something they want to do. We have pre-prepared meals companies, people who do like packaged meals for families.
Okay.
So any kind of food preparation where you just, 1, legally can't do it at your house, or 2, don't have the space.
Got it.
Yeah, because you can. North Carolina has a pretty decent law about being able to rezone your home kitchen into a commercial kitchen, but there are some stringent rules. If you are a pet owner, no way.
No way.
Yeah, they just don't want to have a little kitty running on anything, and it's pretty understandable.
Plus, I've heard it, and actually, Kyle Sutton sitting in 3-time Bubbles and Brisket participating champion.
Grab that microphone a little closer to your melon.
Actually, where was he? I think you might have been telling me, but people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's nice that you can have a commercial kitchen in your house," but people don't understand the realities of how much of a pain in the ass that can be. Because wasn't Heather? Because Kyle also is the owner, proprietor of Bestow Baked Goods. Wasn't it? You were telling me that Heather was initially doing commercial cooking out of your home, and basically that's the whole reason you started your business, is you needed to get her out of there.
It's totally true.
Yeah.
So North Carolina is very hospitable to home-based businesses for food within reason. And you can start there, you can scale there, but the moment you actually have a commercial kitchen in your home, it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So I would get off work, and Heather's in the house running a double-deck oven in our great room, and it's 80 degrees in the house because your home HVAC is not designed for that. So if you're going to do it, please, God, go to somebody like Will, because you want to do it at your home, but you don't. You really don't.
Yeah.
You quickly run out of space, and when you get into commercial kitchen, you need a grease trap, and you need all this nonsense. So, I mean, hopefully we have designed it where you can, for a very minimal cost, move in, try your idea. If it works, great, you make money, and then hopefully the end goal will be you move on to a restaurant or a food truck or whatever it be, or you can just stay here and keep cooking.
Yeah, and also you really get a chance to understand your own business and your own brand, which is something that I'd like to pause now for a quick word from our title sponsor, Sysco.
Yeah, well, while we could talk all day about cooking up the most delicious barbecue or an artisanal pizza, craft cocktails, it's the business and the branding side of things that often determines the success of an industry.
That's why Sysco, the global leader in food service, is the best resource to keep your brand strong. Sysco knows that great ingredients are only one part of your recipe for success. By understanding your unique needs, they can offer you powerful solutions to run every aspect of your business.
Yeah, how? Well, Sysco has a team of experts that do in-depth consultations covering everything from profit and loss statements to keeping your menu on trend. Whether you're looking for training materials, food cost advantages, or service ideas, Sysco has the expertise to fit your needs.
Visit Sysco.com. That's SYSCO.com to learn more about all the great ways Sysco can boost your restaurant business.
Anthony, what do you think about Sysco? Wow, it's at the heart of food and service. Oh, that was so bad.
It's obvious.
Sysco at the heart of food and service.
Which makes me think, do you stock products for your, do you buy the products for your tenants, or do they buy them themselves?
So at my previous facility, we had a kind of group buying thing that we put together with U.S. Foods and Sysco to help people buy as a whole and to get, but it was a disaster.
Oh.
People weren't there to receive their food. I was like errand boy, putting food away here and there. People weren't paying their bills. I was being stuck with the returns going back here and there. So, no.
So everybody buys their own shit.
So in this facility, and we've had all the reps come by, Sysco, U.S. Foods, whatever, and I tell them that if they buy from you, great. If they don't come to me. I'm not going to persuade them. I'm not going to help you. So
yeah,
basically, like a shopping center. Every facility, they're not going to group buy through the landlord. Every facility, every restaurant's going to buy their own food through whoever they buy it through.
Okay. But also they could, and I know just from working with Sysco as a customer that, and at Crafton we had multiple units, and we didn't buy the food for our people, but if you you could treat the space as kind of like one unit. And when it comes to ordering minimums and daily schedules and or delivery schedules, you could get on one group, and then that way there's kind of buying power for the smaller individual concepts. Mm-hmm. And so there are minimums typically for a food order, but what Sysco would do would be like, well, we'll just treat you as one big whole, and then somebody only
one delivery address.
Yeah, if in the end, the minimum is more based on the fact that it's a delivery, not about the client.
And that's what we did over there. Is that I was the host. Yeah. So everybody bought under my account, but then I was responsible for the bills. I was responsible for when it came. I was responsible for the returns.
You don't want to do that.
I'm like, no.
So when you used to buy, did you have a favorite? What was the number one Sysco product that was purchased?
Oh man,
putting you on the spot.
Yeah, probably sodas.
Sodas.
Yeah, I mean, because you can buy a case of sodas for $40, sell them $1 a piece.
Well, there you go. Get your sodas from Sysco.
So, okay, the thing that really caught my eye when we were touring, and you mentioned it earlier, is the idea of ghost kitchens. Mm-hmm. And that's something that we were discussing before. We've mentioned it on the show a little bit, but it was something that I saw in action in Santa Monica, California, when I went out to visit, and I spoke with previous guest of the show, Kim Floresca, who, she was at One for a long time. She was at El Bulli. She was all over the place, but she also has been working for Gwyneth Paltrow at Goop Kitchen in Santa Monica in a ghost kitchen only space. And their space was cool. It was pretty large, one floor, but about the same square footage, about 40,000 square foot. And they just had stalls everywhere. And then when you walked into the front, you'd see like a little kiosk, and you could order from any of the places, and it would all be on one check, a la like Crafton style. You could just order a little from here, a little from there, a little from there. And then they employed essentially a food runner that would go in the back and get all the food and organize it, put it in a box, and bring it up front. Or what was more commonly, because it's the trend on everything, is like a Grubhub or delivery service that would meet in the back. And that's something that you and I spoke about, Will, that these ghost kitchens, I mean, you minimize your costs on everything if you're doing it as a ghost kitchen. You're not hiring like servers. You're not hiring delivery people. I mean, there's a cost to work with the delivery service company, but if that's all you're spending your money on, you're not doing any front store signage or anything like that, then you could make a profit working as a ghost kitchen in a space like this, the kitchen space. You're receiving orders, you're placing these orders, it's all online, and then the drivers just know to come to the back door of the kitchen space and pick it up and take it anywhere around the state or in the area. Yeah.
So the way that's kind of going to work, we're going to work on doing some things like that. But until we get the place full, it'll just be kind of like each business. So if you go on Grubhub now and you look at the list of things that are delivery, there's a good portion of them that if you look at the address, it probably shares the address with 3 or 4 other restaurants. It may be a restaurant that serves breakfast like Flying Biscuit, and then at lunchtime they do a ghost kitchen of a wing concept or something like that to supplement their income. Yeah. So a lot of people don't look at the address. They don't really care. Once they look at the picture and the food comes and it's good, I don't care where it comes from. I don't care where it's delivered from. So eventually the goal is to hopefully we'll have 20 or 30 different concepts or different types of food that are literally coming out of the same building.
You know why no one cares? Because the health department went to all of those places and made sure that they were great. That's a big point for the health department. Score 1 for them. Ding. Yeah, I guess maybe every now and then they do a good job, or they do something to regulate and make sure that we're.
I mean, we're still alive. We're to die of like botulism or any foodborne illness. Yeah. So I guess that's a feather in their cap.
Yeah, right.
Oh, but if it was all nonprofit, all for charity, they wouldn't regulate.
Screw you. You can die.
Yeah. Anyhow.
So at some point, literally, you'll go on Grubhub and you'll see all these different businesses, and if you look at the address, they're going to all have the same address. It's all going to be 3805 South Wilmington, and people honestly don't really care where it came from. And, well, it's coming from a proper facility this time, but...
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't see... I wouldn't care where the
Have you ever looked at
physical
the
brick
address
and
where it came
mortar
from?
if I'm ordering
No.
food.
Exactly.
No.
You don't care.
Especially if like the word of mouth and the marketing is and something looks good, you're like, yeah, all right, hook me up.
100%.
Yeah, but so what else? Because I can't imagine you. So then, is that the main part of your business? Is ghost kitchens that are delivering, or are there other commissary kitchens for like pop ups, or what else is there?
Yeah, so as of now, one of our customers is Tastefully Served, and she does like pre-prepared meals for families.
Oh, that's right. You were saying
We've got Guy's Kitchens who does vegan catering. Dunkin' Donuts has actually coming over to rent a room because his wife wants to start making vegan donuts.
Wait, Duck and Donuts?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
it sounded like you
franchise.
said Dunkin' Donuts. I was like,
No,
why the
yeah.
hell would Dunkin'?
No, Dunkin' Donuts, the one that's on South Wilmington Street.
Wait, because they want to do because the guy who owns that chain,
His wife wants to do a vegan donut concept. So she's going to come over and rent a room. And
if you're doing vegan, you have to properly separate from every.
correct.
Yeah.
And then we've got Dim Sum, who's doing Grubhub and Takeout. They're already in the building. So
Is this the same? Remember we did the Ghost Kitchen episode with the pizza and the cookies. and the
Winter ramen dinner.
Yeah.
I don't believe that this is the same.
no,
person.
it's not. No, this is a new one. It's a buddy of mine. We've got the Backyard Hibachi guys. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah.
They bring the hibachi to your backyard.
Oh yeah.
They're going to be one of our tenants. So I mean, it's a range of just anything food related. Really.
Did the hibachi guys come from Conky or one of the other big ones around?
I'm not sure actually. I hired them a couple years ago to do a Friendsgiving at my house,
Oh.
and me and the owner Han have been friends ever since. And his business. I mean, I own a business that builds food trucks as well.
Yeah.
And so he brought his hibachi grill, and he was like, "Hey, I need to roll this around." I was like, "All right, we can make it work."
Dude, those hibachi guys, I don't know if you've been recently, but like, parts of my family, and obviously it's great for the kids because they love it. And
Sure.
like you get leftovers and everything, but they're super convincing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so now my 4-year-old will walk around and say, those guys are the best cookers in the world. Because they say, oh yeah, they're the best
We're
chefs
the
in the
best.
world.
Yeah, it's all branding. They're like Donald Trump of the cooks. We're the best
in the
We're the
world.
best in the world. Well, let's get into your travel. I want to know, and what did you pick up? You traveled all over the world. You were in Dubai, I think.
No, so I started in the Philippines. I spent
Okay.
a couple weeks there. Then spent a couple weeks in Europe. Went to Hong Kong for a little bit. Actually ended abruptly. We were in Amsterdam, and they were like, "Hey, you guys might want to go home." This is when Corona started.
Wow.
And we're like, we probably should go home now. So we headed home, and then it was probably a couple months after that. Then I went and spent a couple weeks in the Caribbean, and St. Martin, St. Bart, St. John.
Yeah, that's what I saw mostly from your Instagram feed. I'm like, this asshole is just on the
It was
beach.
a blast. I spent like 6 months on
All
the beach.
the time.
It was pretty wild. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Well, why come back? Why would you want to come back and leave?
Ran
all
out of
that?
money.
Oh,
Yeah.
That
Thank you
whole
for snapping back into focus.
Yeah, right. Had to come back to reality.
But did you? I mean, just because your brain's probably working while you're out there thinking about food in general, and you're seeing it from a different perspective everywhere. Is there anything that you picked up in your travels that maybe people are doing it in a certain way that could really, expand upon, and like how you like interpreted what was happening?
No, not so much. Honestly, I was really just traveling just to have fun and have a good time. And I had spent, I don't know, it was 9 years straight between the food trucks and the commissaries of working literally almost every single day. And finally, when someone offered to buy my business, I was like, screw it. I'm going to go just enjoy life for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then they got kind of boring, actually, to be honest. I was ready to go back to work.
Here's something I'm always confused about the business side of things. You're out there living your best life, and then you come back and you're like, all right, I'm gonna start a business. But you just said like I kind of ran out of money. So like, did you just have investors from the past, or did you go to the bank? What did you do?
Well, I didn't run out of all my money. I didn't spend everything,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah, you
but-
left the savings. You were
Yeah,
just
right.
like the
But
cash pour.
I started the business, the Concession Solutions, where we build the food trucks. And then, once my non-compete ended, I went and got an investor and got the building. And
So was that kind of always the plan in the back of your head? That you're like, oh, once my non-compete goes?
no, not really. Honestly, I just felt like there was a need for it, and I was good at it, and I knew if I did build it, that people would come, and I knew I had the right connections of people to build it. And so, after it was over, I was like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I already know how to do it, so let's try
do it again.
Yeah.
Will, what is the most used purchased mayonnaise brand in your
Duke's, baby.
There you go.
Oh,
Wow,
don't let the
this
sign
guy.
above your head lead the witness a little bit.
Max, did you know that Duke's is the only major mayo brand to be made without sugar?
What?
Actually,
Yeah.
no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating because, I would always assume there was a little bit. We basically, as Americans, sneak sugar into everything that we make.
Yeah. But
Duke's is the best.
Duke's is the best, and
so.
that's so cool that it's made without sugar. As somebody who tries to like avoid a lot of sugar,
Yeah.
that is a selling point. Not only are they made without sugar, but Duke's is the official condiment of the tailgate and title sponsor of the Duke's Mayo Classic and Duke's Mayo Bowl, which hopefully one of our 3 teams in here will be playing in come December.
Well, thank you. And Matt doesn't just talk about Duke's randomly for no reason. He's passionate about it because the Duke's is the official podcast Mayo.
It is the official podcast Mayo.
Exactly. For over 100 years, Duke's been adding Southern flavors to make good things better. For more information, go to dukesmayo.com or follow Dukes_mayonnaise on Instagram. Now, Kyle, you have a thing or two to think about with the commissary kitchens and what Will's doing out here. What were you thinking?
Yeah, sure, man. So I'm really curious. I think it bears kind of calling out that your journey here isn't common. To go from restaurateur, moving into services that support the business. A lot of restaurateurs kind of get into the space and they spend a ton of time working, in the business, not on the business, but you've clearly moved beyond that. So you get the nuts and bolts really well. So I'm sure you're kind of tapped into a lot of trends. Why ghost kitchens now kind of over the food trucks?
Well, one, food trucks take a lot of space, take a lot of time, and you have to babysit them. Unfortunately.
They're not all horrible.
They're not all horrible.
Not
And
all
They're not horrible, but
horrible.
they're just, most people that get in the food truck business they kind of follow this rebel model where they just kind of do what they want to do, and it's just hard to keep under control with that many people in one building. And then the way we have it now with the separate ghost kitchens, it's almost like an apartment that you're responsible for that room. And you can't say that Bob left the mess or he didn't clean this or he didn't do that or he left my oven on, like it's yours. You have the key to the room. You did it. It was very clear. So just keeping them separate, they like it better. I like it better. It's just a better overall model.
But there wasn't like Kyle was maybe leading you to say that maybe you were looking at trends of food and ghost kitchens and other things were like on the horizon, and that's why you chose to go in this way?
Well, absolutely, because 100%, as you see, restaurants they're getting smaller. The seating areas fast food restaurants McDonald's are tearing down their buildings to build smaller buildings that don't have any seating because no one sits at them anymore. And everything is takeout, every delivery, catering, private chefs, everything is now moving to the future of eating at home or eating it on the go. So I assume that hopefully this kitchen will catch on the same way and help feed that Grubhub, Uber Eats, takeout model, especially being so close to downtown.
Yeah, I've been helping a few companies like find a location for restaurants and looking even just for myself. And my broker friend, she's like, we were looking at spaces that were older spaces and they're like, 4,500 square feet, which back in the day, that was like, that sounded about like the good amount of space to where you could put 150 seats in and a nice good sized kitchen. And she's like, no one builds a restaurant in this size any longer. Like, unless you're some massive, like P.F. Chang's or a steakhouse with, like Capitol Grill or something. She's like, if you're an independent restaurant, you're looking at 2,500 square feet maximum. Yep. Like that's a big space. And now places are getting like, they're getting segmented. Yeah. Like this place is going to cook this amount of food at this spot. And this place is going to do this. We're really, when you're looking at what you are providing for these prep kitchens, they're really small, but you're almost like, you start thinking about, well, what does a person really need? And like, you don't really need that much space any longer. Hell, our friend Jake over at Lawrence Barbecue is crushing, and he's got a line out the window, and he's doing it out of a storage container. And granted, he has outside smokers and all, and he's expanded to another storage container for his taco shop and another one for the bar. But those are all independently different businesses, and even we're talking about the box yard out there in RTP, but it's like those spaces are what I would consider tiny, but they're actually almost bigger. I mean, they're definitely bigger than like what you're offering, because the intention was initially to have some inside dining. But he's like, yeah, never mind. I just need more space to put my back stock of food because he's got a line down the block. But
if you have the space available and you give people the space, they're gonna use it.
Sure.
There's no question about it. If I give you a refrigerator that's 7 doors on it, and I say, here, this is your fridge, you're going to find a way to fill it up.
Right.
Just like you're one of your house that's full of stuff that you probably won't ever eat and you're going to throw it away.
I went to the dump twice this weekend.
I know you were like texting me, do you want this? Do you want it? I was like, oh, Max is on a clear out mission.
You never said if you wanted the fridge, Matt.
I want it, but I just don't have a place for it either.
Sarah put the kibosh.
If he had the space for it,
I
he
didn't
would
even
take
ask
it.
her. I know I had the space for it.
Who wants a 2-door wine
It's a
fridge?
pretty cool
I've got
wine
one
fridge.
for free
Maybe
if you
put
do
it,
want
I
it.
just put it in my garage or something.
That's where mine is right now. But
Hey, I just want to play the counterpoint to that, though, for a second, because there's another way, and I don't know how they did it, but your former employers and partners, the Borsons and Sarah Abernethy, what they're doing with Glass House Kitchen.
yeah.
It's a
Talking
huge,
about like Y Hill and
it's a huge space, but they're also providing the goods for they're cooking for Twisted Ladder out there, I believe, and then they have a catering facility where they're doing a lot of catered stuff. And the restaurant space probably, I mean, it's a big restaurant, but the seating there isn't that big. But yeah, so that's the other way is make your kitchen, if you are going to have space like you're doing, but you just do it in-house and make it multifunctional.
Well, I was kind of a part of that project when it first started. And so I know that the developers of that building, they had in mind they wanted it to be a huge catering facility for all of the RTP folks.
Yeah.
And so it had alternative, ideas, not just to be a restaurant. And so that kitchen is massive, but it's purposefully massive so that it could do a ton more. So I would say that, but if you were going to just make, and just for the sake of argument, if you were going to just make Glass House to just be Glass House,
it
you
wouldn't
probably
make sense.
could have chopped that kitchen in half and still be fine.
Well,
and so
you've traveled and you've been to New York and Chicago and Boston and Canada and some of the greatest restaurants in the world. The kitchens are the size of this room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they have
James
chefs
Beard
that
kitchen is
figure it out
super tiny.
in 300 square feet.
Right.
So I mean, the size of the kitchen really shouldn't decide what kind of food they produce or what kind of
the motion in the ocean.
Correct. If you figure it out, you should be able to figure it out in a small space. I mean, literally, some kitchens in New York are smaller than this room right here.
But there's something there, right? Because if you look at the data, right, Yelp releases a study every year where they track like restaurant openings, right? And so I think from like March 22 to April 23, restaurant openings up like 10%. Okay. In that same time window, pop-up concepts, 105% increase in openings. Yeah. Like what does that say about kind of the way we prefer to dine now? Like what's your read on that trend?
People like change. People like something different. They don't want to go to the same spot every time, which a pop-up is kind of similar to a food truck. I can bring the food to you. I don't have to, if I open a restaurant here, then most of my business is going to be people in this area. If I have a food truck or a pop-up, then I can go visit different locations of the city. I can visit different areas and figure out which demographic fits my food best, I guess. And so the same thing in our building. If you want to do a pop-up and not go spend a ton of money on a restaurant and hundreds of thousands of dollars of getting it to where you need, come give it a shot. Come cook for a couple months or a year or whatever and see if it works. And if it works, then you decide to go buy a restaurant.
Yeah, but, we had this conversation back when, like, Andrea Weigel had said famously, this is years ago, like, why the food industry in Raleigh or just North Carolina is still great because a line cook can still afford to open up a restaurant.
Right.
I would make the argument that a line cook can't afford to open up a restaurant any longer. But this is your toe in. This is a way to do this. And if you can make some bomb ass food out of one of your kitchens and you can find a way to market it and you can find a way to get it out to the community, I think with all the technology that we have now with delivery and with online ordering and everybody's got a smartphone, that you can be successful in this space and you're coming up with the next new thing. I mean, but that's also part of it too, right? And maybe even Kyle, because you spend a lot of time. You're like a professional diner, Kyle. Let's be honest.
I enjoy a restaurant occasionally, yes.
Yeah, I mean, but like you really get into like what they're cooking, what the trends are, what they're doing. But if somebody is doing something unique, for one, you're going to know about it. But that type of I guess ingenuity or so is like what's necessary to kind of separate yourself from everything else right now, because now everybody's just looking at their phones and ordering from there. So like, yeah, you don't have to have a beautiful space any longer. It doesn't really matter. You can just take cool pictures of the tacos you made and done. So what's next?
But I certainly believe that people are creatures of habit. If you order food and it's good, you're going to order again. End of story.
Sure.
And just the way it goes. If you order some food and it's absolutely awful, you're going to tell all your friends, do not order it.
Yeah.
Because we're creatures of habit. We like things that make us happy, and good food makes us happy.
Yeah, but the irony of that is what you just said, a couple of minutes ago, is people like change. So like we like the pop-ups, we like the new things.
That's
also.
right.
But I do think it is like it's such a microcosm, but like where I live in Holly Springs, there's a lot of restaurants coming. Congratulations, by the way, to our friends from Pimento Tea Room who just opened Nightingale in downtown Holly Springs. I haven't been yet, but Kyle, maybe you live in Holly Springs. Maybe you and I'll meet for a rooftop bar drink over there. And Max will take the train in. We'll fly in the helicopter on the rooftop.
Sure.
You need to fly all the way in from Raleigh.
I don't fly helicopters anymore. R.I.P. Mamba.
Oh, man. Okay. Anyway, what I was saying, back to my point. So in Holly Springs, and people who've been there know this, there's like 3 restaurants basically that crush it. And they're busy almost every night. And in the other restaurants, they're just there. Mm-hmm. And it's so obvious of like what's good, what's quality, and how, yes, creatures of habit, but also like it's discerning, right? That's the ultimate merit system is like, I go back to your restaurant because it's good, I know what I want, and I get what I want. And I think that's probably the same that you're seeing with people ordering.
Next time they have a food truck rodeo downtown, walk down the street. The places with the longest lines have the best food.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's the way it goes, unfortunately.
Meritocracy.
Yeah. And it also tends to be like the places that cook the most obvious food. Like it's tacos, it's burgers, it's, pizza, let's say. Yeah. But when you're like, I've done something crazy, like I'll put them up as just an example, even though I do kind of like them, is cowfish, burgers and sushi and put together. Although I tend to just either like the burger or the sushi.
Not
I don't always do the burgushi. I've had it. It's pretty good actually. But yeah, people do kind of just stick with what they want. So I don't know, that trend thing is cool, but in the bottom line is really good quality, well-made execution, and also like in a good timely fashion. I would imagine has something to do with it.
Hey Kyle, you're on the cusp here. What is the newest food trend in food trucks, or the hottest thing out there? Like, what's the best thing you've had recently?
Oh man, from a food truck, from a delivery kitchen.
Eat all of the above. Like, remember, like when they put the croissant and the donut together, and they thought the cronut was like the biggest thing in history.
I can tell you what I'm excited about right now.
Okay.
So, I'm ashamed to not remember the guy's name. There's a guy in Raleigh who started doing wood-fired pizza in his backyard on an uni.
Oh.
Okay. So, a little company out of Edinburgh, crowdfunded. Now they're in, big box retailers, Dick's Sporting Goods, Macy's. You can buy unis everywhere.
Yeah.
Fell in love.
You can get it at Original Grills. Our friend Pete Kingdom sells.
Give him a shout out
Kingdom
for sure.
Yeah.
Sells the uni and many other higher end even pizza ovens. But now he's turned that into a food truck.
Nice.
So he posted in a group like a week ago saying, hey, I'm in a bunch of like Facebook groups for like restaurateurs saying like, hey, I'm in the Raleigh area, come look at it. I'm like, man, look, I'll get you in my neighborhood to like make pizza, but like the leoparding on your dough is so beautiful. I'm just gonna pay you for pizza lessons, man. Like let's work out that deal because the pie looks phenomenal. But I think it kind of ties into this other trend we're seeing that a lot of folks that kind of make the move from I enjoy doing a thing for sport to I'm gonna do it professionally. I think now it's easier to get started than it ever has been before.
Absolutely.
Like, because, we certified the home kitchen. That was terrible, expensive. Like, it was a process. Had a kitchen-like space been accessible in the Holly Springs area, it would have been a no-brainer. So, I kind of see the thing you're doing as kind of buoying this ongoing rise of entrepreneurship in food. Like, you can, if you have the aptitude, make the jump from home cook to professional if the product is good. And then I think the critical piece where a lot of folks fall short is like nailing down the business side. So I'm curious about that as well. Like you clearly have it down pat. You've worked kind of every side of this business. The folks in your space, are you working with them to get sharper on actually running kind of the business side of the restaurant game, or is it, how do you think about it?
Yes and no. So we've made it pretty streamlined with the health department to get you in with getting your permit and getting your secondary permit for the kitchen set up, which is really all you need to move in. Other than that and general liability insurance, you're ready to go. So we'll help you guide you through that part. Then we have people that we can direct you to that will help you with setting up your Uber Eats, your Grubhub, your business bank accounts. I don't do it personally. I don't have the time to do it, but I can certainly set you up with someone if you want to. If you don't want to, I do your thing by all means. But we've made it really, really easy, literally online fillable application for the health department that you can get permitted within a couple of days.
And you don't have any requirements of, say, success? No. Like, it doesn't matter, really. I mean, as long as they're paying the bills and paying the rent, you know.
I mean, we have a simple lease, just like an apartment.
Yeah.
You pay
Is it month to month?
Yeah, pay month to month. First and last when you move in. All utilities included.
For all my musician friends out there, it was like the rehearsal space that you used to get. Like, we used to go to the industrial part of Los Angeles, and there'd be all these different rooms and like drum rooms and live band rooms and recording rooms and all that. And we would just rent those places out and play all to the hours of the night and whatever and go from there. But it's not too different. I mean, the guy, the landlord didn't care if you're playing country, rap, heavy metal, or gospel. It's like
just pay your rent,
pay the rent. And what about hours? Is it like it's
24/7?
Yeah, so it's your place. You're renting it out.
That's right.
Yeah, that's cool. And before we get you out of here, I have from the alcohol side of things. I know they're usually not hand in hand, but if you're running a ghost kitchen or if you're running some sort of catering operation out of there, I'm wondering, assuming you don't have any alcohol partner wine or beer at this point, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it possible in those sense, and okay, if you haven't looked into this, but like to have a centralized thing, right? So it almost acts as like a retailer for the commissaries, where it would be like permitted that they could buy for their business and then go on the same Grubhub or pop up or anything, where then they were allowed to have at least wine and beer, say.
I don't even know if you can sell wine and beer on Grubhub. Maybe you can.
There's a app called Drizzly.
Yeah.
Not
Drizzly,
a sponsor of the show, but
I'm assuming I'm assuming they buy from an ALE place, an alcohol store, or a grocery store.
Right, I get that, but I'm wondering, like, would that be, because that would seem to me to be a whole next level of your operation and offerings if you could have like almost an in-house retailer that then your permits could work off of.
I'm gonna look into it.
You know, we used to think of this as like this is a new thing, but let's be honest. I mean, Matt, you lived in Los Angeles with me back in the day. We weren't roommates, but we had Pink Dot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a little crass here, folks, but Pink Dot. This is what we all use Pink Dot for. My orders typically, honey, don't listen to this part. Don't listen, kids. Shut this part off right now. Pink Dot was what you ordered on the way home. You'd be like, I want a bottle of Jack Daniels, a 12-pack of beer, a box of condoms, and a pack of smokes. And you would get home, and it would be right there. You'd get it as soon as there, and you'd take the after party back to the old apartment. Yep. And, 10 people would go pouring into your place at 2:30 in the morning, and the party would rage on until 5 or so. And you're like, yeah, thanks, Pink Dot.
Yeah, because you were in your 20s, and everything in Los Angeles, like last call was 1:30.
Yeah. All right, honey, you can listen again. You can turn back on. I didn't know you then.
We were on a break.
That was Felicia. That was our first date.
Was it Pink Dot day?
It was the Pink Dot day.
Yeah.
But Pink Dot was like Wild West. Anything. You could buy toilet paper. It was a grocery store.
Like a local Amazon.
Yeah. And it had like really good sandwiches and pasta. Like, it was a ghost kitchen. You could get good food. Granted, it was good because it was at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever ordered Pink Dot at noon.
No, definitely not. But Pink Dot.
Yeah, Pink Dot was the way. If you watch Swingers, everybody, that highly featured in Swingers.
Yeah. We got to start a Pink Dot out in Raleigh. It's our next business move. And we'll start it out of the kitchen space.
Let's do it.
All right?
Let's do it. Well, thank you, Will, for coming back in. We're excited. What I really love that you're doing here is you're giving opportunity to create. You're just basically framing out a space to let creators create.
Correct.
And there's not a lot of room in between to influence. You're just like, hey man, let's be honest. You're like, if your check clears, do whatever the hell you want.
Good to go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's nothing illegal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, Matt, what else you got, man?
Well, Will, thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
Thanks for what you're doing in the community. Kyle, thank you for sitting in, man, and adding your insight and the data facts. I love that. So for all of you out there, if you're trying to start a business or you want to look for some businesses where you will eat and drink merrily, check out the Kitchen Space.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to the NCF&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.